and I started spending time with my dad. I've been away from home for 30 years. And I started to realize that my father had Father's Day insecurity. My Vietnam vet dad didn't know whether I was going to call him, didn't know whether he was going to get a Father's Day card. Because I was deployed. Sometimes you're in Iraq, you're in Bosnia, you're in Kosovo, you forget. And you're worried about yourself. So you're wondering whether you're going to go to MWR and get on the computer and be able to see your kids, on Father's Day, selfishly, right? So I started and I was like, holy cow, I'm 55. And now I know what my dad felt like when I was in the Army for 20 years. And then I was in Germany for another 10 years after that. And I wasn't there for my dad. And my dad had to wake up wondering whether the phone was going to ring. Waiting for the mail every day around Father's Day. Waiting to see if a card would come. The circle. Right? Hey folks. Rick Mills here again. And I'm here today to give you a veteran's perspective, this veteran's perspective. Not all veterans. Remember, this channel is about reaching the one, not the 99. Again, Ricky Mills here, giving you a veteran's perspective into Father's Day. What I like to call the Father's Day insecurity. So this is this veteran's perspective. Not all veterans are dealing with the same thing. Some veterans have good relationships with their kids, I guess. And so I felt like I wanted to come out and just give a message. This is for the veterans that are in their houses that are not looking forward to tomorrow. This is for the veterans that, just like I put out that Memorial Day message for the PACE, primary, alternate, contingency, emergency, have a PACE plan. Get ahead of these days. Get ahead of the Memorial Days, the Father's Days, the birthdays, when you're in a house by yourself and nobody calls. So, my story, Father's Day for me is one of those days. It's one of those hard days because it's like, you were downrange and you had a tick and either you got hit or your buddy got hit. And now that day, when it comes around on the calendar, as it gets closer to that day, maybe self-medicate a little more, maybe a little bit of decompartmentalization going on. You're not happy, that's for sure. But yeah, Father's Day. I remember in 2018, I hadn't seen my daughter in 2 years. For better or worse, she made a decision at the age of 16 that spending time with dad wasn't as valuable as spending time with her friends. The visiting dad every 2 weeks wasn't working out because she was missing the parties, the good times. 16, you got to sow your wild oats. So then I had 3 boys coming every 2 weeks. And I hadn't seen my daughter. The reason I tell these stories is for perspective. I'm not trying to boast. I'm sharing my story so that for the person out there to let you know you're not alone. You're not alone. You're not the only veteran out there that's sitting in your house by yourself waiting, hoping that the phone would call, that a card would come in the mail, And so on Veterans Day, I think it was 23 June 2012, or whatever, I can look it up. But it was 2018. 23 June 2018, I hadn't seen my daughter in 2 years. And so for some reason, I wanted all my kids in one place. And they were having the Fisher Fest in Vilseck, Germany. And so I said, hey, they're having the Fisher Fest. You guys come in. I'll pay for the whole thing. We'll enjoy a day together. So they agreed, and they all came in. And that was the day that, by the end of that day, my 4 children surrounded me on the stairs of the small business that I was living in the store. You know, I had lived in an empty office on the floor with a mattress on the floor for almost 10 years at that point, living in a foreign country with 30% disability and the inability to change my disability percentage because I wasn't smart enough to just go back to the States, get my disability changed, fix myself first. It's hard to help anybody else when you're not helping yourself, when you're in a bad place. And so there I was, and that was the day in 2018, June 2018, that my 4 kids surrounded me on the stairs of the small business that I was living in so that I could be within 45 minutes of my kids for like 10 years in a foreign country, speaking German. Germany had just imported 2.4 million Iraqi and Afghani refugees. 2017, 2018, it was like 1.2 million in 2017 and another 1.2 million in 2018. So I had gone from, you know, Rick Mills American that's lived in Germany for 10, 12, 13 years at that point, 15 years total of my life, speak German, read German. German was my language in the military and the special forces. And so it was easy to start a small business in Germany, kind of bouncing around here. But so now I can't even leave my store and go to Netto and get groceries, get coffee, get eggs, without Iraqi and Afghani refugees walking down my side of the street. So I have to like cross the street to make sure they're not within arm's reach or hand's reach of me, because I'm not going to allow them in my zone. I want it standoff so I can react. So things were what they were. And so after spending that day together at the Fisher Fest, we had a few beers here and there. Germany, kids can drink beer at 16. I was surrounded on the stairs of my store by my 4 children and my daughter, who I hadn't seen in 2 years. It was like an ambush. I got ambushed. And she was the point of the V, of the fire team V. She was the team leader. And my 3 boys just stood there and let my daughter tear me apart. And in the end, my daughter stood in front of me and said, "We're done with you. You're an asshole. Nobody here of the 4 of us," so obviously there'd been some communication in the background, "Nobody here wants to see you or talk to you ever again." Process that. You know? So decompartmentalization is like you start to go back. So now the kids go back to their moms. I'm by myself in this store / apartment processing this stuff, and it starts to bubble over. If you don't know what decompartmentalization looks like, imagine, you know, that whole, like, this glass is half full or half empty. Like civilians have half empty, half empty, half full glasses. Pessimism versus optimism, blah, blah, blah. Veterans have a glass, and there's like a hose attached to the bottom, and the water is overflowing. The glass is overflowing, and you're trying so hard to keep it together. And you're taking, and you're, with everything you have, you're trying to hold the water in the glass, but the glass is just, it's just overflowing. You can't keep the water in the glass. It's your emotions. You feel like you're gonna have a heart attack. You can't breathe 1 minute. The next minute, you're hyperventilating. You start to fall apart. So Father's Day has a special meaning to this man, because after that, my daughter hadn't talked to me for 2 years. Now my daughter doesn't talk to me again. So, Father's Day. Again, this is not to like crash your party or I'm not trying to draw attention to myself. What I'm trying to do is say, hey, veteran, You're not alone. You probably know other veterans that have kids that are having a hard time today. So my message to you, if you're veteran X that is out there and you're having a hard time on a day like today, take a look at my Memorial Day PACE plan video. If you flip through, you'll see the cover thing says PACE, P-A-C-E, Primary Alternate Contingency Emergency. Have a plan. Get ahead of it. Be proactive versus reactive to these days. You know, it's hard to do it, but, and then the message that I want to share to you on how to make the day go smoother is to try to give of yourself. So gratitude is huge. What do I mean by gratitude? This is the special message in this video. My dad, you know, I'm home. I finally moved home after my kids surrounded me. I closed my business down, shut it. I franchised the thing, moved back to America. Within 6 months, I had 100%. And I started spending time with my dad. I've been away from home for 30 years. And I started to realize that my father had Father's Day insecurity. My Vietnam vet dad didn't know whether I was going to call him, didn't know whether he was going to get a Father's Day card. Because I was deployed. Sometimes you're in Iraq, you're in Bosnia, you're in Kosovo, you forget. And you're worried about yourself. So you're wondering whether you're going to go to MWR and get on the computer and be able to see your kids, you know, on Father's Day, selfishly, right? So I started and I was like, holy cow, I'm 55. And now I know what my dad felt like when I was in the Army for 20 years. And then I was in Germany for another 10 years after that. And I wasn't there for my dad. And my dad had to wake up wondering whether the phone was going to ring. Waiting for the mail every day around Father's Day, waiting to see if a card would come. The circle, right? So my dad was over for something and I sat there and I apologized to my father. Gratitude. I apologized to my father and I said, Dad, I am so sorry because now I know what it's like. My dad has 4 kids, 5 now, with my brother, Christopher. I know what it's like to have Father's Day insecurity, birthday insecurity, Christmas insecurity, all those holidays. It doesn't have to be Veterans Day or Memorial Day for veterans. Because veterans, if they're off on their own, living in a house, isolated, not going out in the public unless they have to. Again, not all veterans. And I apologize to my father for not being there for him when he was 55. Another story. So John McCollum has been my partner in Wild Jaeger from the beginning. This is a tough one. So I remember when I was getting out of the military. I'd just gotten out of the military and I was coming back to the States for like turkey season and whitetail season. And I would go down and, you know, John and I always loved spending some time together, 1, 2, 3 days to, you know, bring Wild Jaeger together, you know, the CEO, the CFO, the business partner relationship, talk about, you know, our annual plan for the next year, talk about what we just got done doing. And I remember standing there and I was complaining about my dad because I would call my dad and say, hey, Dad, you want to go fishing? I don't like fishing. And hey, Dad, you want to watch football? I'm a big Buffalo Bills fan. Dad, you want to watch a football game? I don't watch football. So I'm like digging. I'm like, man, I want to spend time with my dad. And I'm like, I can't figure out like what to do. So I remember being at John McCollum's house, and John McCollum's father had passed away when John was young. It's all part of John and my story. And if you don't know it, like John's father and my father were sheriffs in the Syracuse Sheriff's Department together. They both taught firearms safety and instruction at the Elbridge Rod and Gun Club that's right down the street. I can hear him shooting from here. My father taught pistol marksmanship, and his father taught shotgun. Hence why John likes to shoot a lot. Shotguns. And I remember complaining about my dad. Oh, my dad. And John stopped me and he said, Rick, shut the up. I stopped. I looked at him and he was like, he leaned in like this and he said, I wish I had a father to complain about. So I was thinking twice about making this video. But there's got to be somebody out there that's hurting. Maybe just as bad as I am. Every Father's Day. My kids forgot my birthday this year. Entire day went by. No phone call. No FaceTime. No message. No card in the mail. Nothing. I got 4. I didn't have 25%, I didn't have 50%, I didn't have 75%, definitely didn't have 100%. You know, so you gotta like, you, as a veteran, you look forward to the future and you're like, how long can I do this for? And then you look back and you think about all the times that I was in the store on a Father's Day or a birthday by myself because it wasn't my 2-week visitation. And you just live there by yourself. The store's open 6-8 hours a day. What do you do with the other 16 hours? Go crazy? So, I'm trying to think of what else I wanted to say. Gratitude. Call your dad. If you can't improve your own situation, you might be able to call a veteran buddy who's in the same situation, or maybe even hurting worse than you. Or you can call your dad, or call somebody else's dad, or call a friend that some of you guys don't have fathers. A lot of veterans grew up in households where they didn't have a father. They don't know who to call, but they're a dad now. Call a buddy. Call that guy in your life that was kind of the father figure, the big brother, or the father figure, and let them know. Gratitude. It might pull you out of your pit. Less self-medicating. Get ahead of yourself. Have a plan, primary, alternate, contingency, emergency, with positive things to do with your time. I might go fishing today. I know I'm bartending this evening. And then you can always be grateful to our Father above, right? Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, for thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen. And then my final note on this, as we get up to 20 minutes now, I didn't think this video was going to be 20 minutes long, is no permanent solutions to temporary problems. And I know that you know what I'm talking about. No permanent solutions to temporary problems. If back when I had my worst time, if I had hurt somebody else and ended up behind bars, or if I had hurt myself, I wouldn't be here now to be able to spend time with the 1 or 2 or 3 kids that actually call me and talk to me once in a while that still need a dad. Children of parents who take their own lives have a higher percentage of doing the same thing. If your father or mother can take their own life and steal themselves away from you, what's to stop you from doing the same thing? Think about that. So you're in wherever the people that do that go, because you're not necessarily going to hell, but you sure as heck can't get to heaven. So you go to this purgatory, this place where you wait judgment. And imagine being there, and a couple years later, your kid shows up because he did the same thing you did. That's a hard message. No permanent solutions to temporary problems. Be there 2 years, 5 years, 10 years later. Suck it up for your kids, for yourself. I'm waiting for grandkids. I'm hoping that, it'd be nice to be able to hold a baby again. Can't do that when you're dead. And things will come around. Everybody's telling me, well, she'll come around. We'll see. So this closes out my message on my Ricky Mills' veteran perspective into Father's Day. I hope that some of you found it okay. Sorry to make someone cry if I did that. But again, my message to you is you're not alone. You're not the only person going through this. No permanent solutions to temporary problems. Gratitude. Call your father or call a friend, somebody who was a big brother or a father figure in your life, and tell them thank you for what they did to yourself. That gratitude might help you get through the day. And then get off your butt. Don't go to the refrigerator and pop open a beer or whatever your self-medication thing is. Go to the creek. Go for a walk in some park somewhere. Even if it's raining, who cares? And I hope that your Father's Days get better. I hope that you can get through this Father's Day with this message. I hope this message reaches the one person that the Lord wants it to reach. It's about the one, not the 99. Amen. Just film the whole time. See if he's going to survive or not. When I do this, it doesn't hurt their gills. Okay. Look at that. Look at that. Nice job. Try to get him to get strong enough.